This video is to remind you of the hand lock suggestibility test. Thinking of contraindications, all that somebody's going to be doing is having their arms outstretched, their elbows locked, and their hands clasped tightly together. So if any of that would hurt, that would be a contraindication. You can do this sitting down or standing up. If you're working with a group, it might be better to have them all standing up. If you're working one-on-one, it's up to you whether you want to do standing or sitting. So you start off by asking them to stick, note the word, stick their arms out in front of them and then lock the hands together. Now, if you want to make it a little bit more dynamic, you can get them to do a good rub first. Yeah, you might do that in the same way you might for magnetic hands. So get them to do a good rub first, stick their arms out, lock their hands together, and then push their hands away from them. By pushing the hands away from them, what you're going to do is you're going to get the elbows to look out. If the hands are here, it's really easy to pull the hands apart with the elbows bent. If you've got the arms outstretched, you'll find that these elbows will lock, and it's actually really quite difficult then to pull the hands apart. You'd have to unlock your fingers and then move your hands apart. Go ahead and try it if you want. Arms bent, hands locked, super easy. Arms outstretched, elbows locked, hands locked. Harder to get those hands apart. So far we've done a bit of a rub. We've stuck the arms out using the word stick. We've locked the hands together using another descriptive word. Then what you get them to do is you get them to focus on a point. This is really useful because this is conducted with eyes open. And when you then go on to talk about using the world's strongest superglue between all the nooks and crannies of their fingers, if they were looking more broadly, they might think, but you're not using superglue. So get them to focus on a point, maybe the top of the thumb, and then you can get them to imagine that they're having the world's strongest superglue squeeze through all the nooks and crannies of their hands. And then, after you've done that, you're giving suggestions that those hands are already starting to stick tightly together. They're sticking and sticking. In fact, they've stuck tightly together. They've melded, they've merged, they've bonded. Use these adhesive phrases to imply that those hands, or to suggest even, that those hands have stuck together. Then what you can do is you can say to them, in a moment, you can test that those hands are locked tightly together, and you can try to take them apart and find that the harder you try, the harder they stick together. 1, 2, 3, go ahead and try it and find that the harder you try to pull them apart, the more they stick together. And then when they've had a little bit of a go at that, you can then say, okay, you can stop trying, take a deep breath of air, blow on your thumb, and that glue evaporates. Now, there's a couple of other adaptations that you can do to this. One of my favourites is particularly if I'm doing a demo and I want to add a bit more detail, is I might say to somebody, I'd like you to imagine that I've squeezed some of the world's strongest superglue into your palms, and I'd like you to really rub it into your hands, really rub it in, because heat helps that glue go off really quickly. Now stick your arms out in front of you, lock your hands together. You can even then suggest that that glue is already working super quickly to lock those hands together. There's a few different variations. It's entirely up to you how you want to do them. So let's have a go. You're welcome to participate in this run through, assuming you don't have any contraindications. So what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to use your imagination and imagine that you do have some of the world's strongest superglue going onto your palms. Might be a little bit cool, it might be warm, who knows. Give it a really good rub in, really rub it in, squish it in between your fingers, and then stick your arms out in front of you. Lock your hands together really tight and push your hands away from you. Good. Now, focus on the thumb on the top. Focus all of your attention on that thumb and stop looking at the video. Focus your attention on the thumb and listen to my words. As you focus on that thumb, you can imagine that even more of that world's strongest superglue is being squeezed into all the nooks and crannies between your fingers. You can feel it setting tighter and tighter. In fact, your hands are now locked tightly together. Just imagine that they are so tightly locked that they simply couldn't come apart. They're merged, they're melded, they're forged together. And now in a moment you can try to take them apart and find that the harder you try, the more locked tight they will become. So you can try and take them apart, really try, and find that they lock even tighter. Good, now stop trying. Take a deep breath. As you breathe out, blow onto that top thumb and melt the glue away. Hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you for watching.